Just trying to pull you guys up on my screen here. Just 1 second. There we are. Perfect. Okay. Now I can see your comments. Happy Sunday. Ow, I just pained my knee. Okay. Let's pull you guys in a little bit here. Maybe a little touch more. Okay. Happy Sunday. I'm not sure what it's like in your area, but it's raining here. It's kind of gray and dismal, and it's supposed to be like that for half the week anyway. So anyway, let's get started. Today we're going to be using some mini stamp sets, and these are adorable. This is the mini coneflower and mini weight splendor anemone, and we're going to make simple card, like super simple. So I'm going to pull in a card base because I'm just using good old white card bases. Because, like I said, simple stamp set, simple card. And I always have pre-scored ones, typically. So, just going to use my bone folder to make sure that's creased really well. There we go. And we are going to need our Misty. 1 second. Alright. So, I'm going to bring in Mini Misty. I always highly recommend these. I also recommend the regular sized Misty. This one here, which is 6.5 by 8.5. If you're going to purchase a stamping platform, I always recommend this one first. And then if you do a lot of cards and stuff, then you can step down to this size, but I always advise the larger or the middle-sized one first. Okay, we are going to be doing some Copic coloring, so we're going to be using a Copic-friendly or an alcohol ink-friendly ink here. Yeah, alright. I actually have everything set up on blocks, but I think we're going to peel them off, at least the flower anyway. So we're going to leave a little bit of a gap to put our sentiment here. Just going to press it and hold it. And then our Memento Tuxedo Black ink. This is the one that I highly recommend. I've used it for many, many, many years. And it works fantastically. I'm just doing it a couple of times because my Memento ink pad isn't as thick and juicy as it used to be, and I really need to re-ink it. Okay, so let's first color in our image, and then we'll add our sentiment. This makes it a little bit easier. So we're gonna go like super simple today, and let's pull you in a little bit more if I can. Okay. So the first thing I always recommend with Copic markers is to position your image where it's most natural for you to position your hand. Okay. We're going to start by putting a light base of pink down. This will just help in blending. We're going to start with an RVO2, and I recommend, especially if you have brand new markers, to take both caps off. What it does is it allows the barrel to equalize inside. There's like a core that's kind of in here that holds the ink. And sometimes if it's over full or if it's a brand new marker, it tends to want to push out ink. Especially if you have a single cap on, what can happen is it wants to go out the end that you have open. And of course, it's always on the last like 5 seconds or 3 minutes of coloring, and it'll go bloop. And you can't, sometimes you can't go back from it because it's a color that you can't push into the paper fiber, or it's a naughty color like a red that doesn't like to be pushed. So I always recommend to take both caps off. So that's an RV02. Let's go to our darkest of our pinks and go RV09. Again, both caps off. And what I want to do for these cone flowers is just put kind of a dark flick right from the base of those petals, because I always look up my flowers and animals and stuff like that to get an idea as to color sometimes. So, of course, I love purple cone flowers because they're the most, they're the ones that you're going to see out there the most. So I picked them to color in my image, and they kind of have like these really much darker points that are closer to the center of the flower, so that's why we're going to use a dark, but they don't have like dark ends on them, if that makes any sense, of those petals. We're going to go at R04, and I'm going to go over top of the dark and blend it out, just using a flicking motion. All you have to do is practice this. And what it does is it pushes a little bit of that dark ink into the paper and puts itself on top and blends it within the fibers. That's how you get a nice blend. And I'm just making super simple flicks, and we'll do a little bit in that end one as well, the one that's tucked behind. Okay, so to get a tiny bit of shading, I'm going to bring in a violet. So we're going to bring a V12 in, and believe it or not, we're going to flick from the other end. This is just going to add a tiny bit of shading to almost appear like they're kind of cupped and the tips are bent underneath. And yes, a violet will make it look like that. It's kind of like a subtle way to shade. I'm going to go right over those tips. There we go. Go back to the little fellow that we forgot. And then our coloring is simple as that. So we're going to go and do our second one. I'm going to do all the petals first. And then we'll go and do the centers. Okay, RV02. Again, we're going to go completely over. This is very, very simple coloring and very, very easy to learn and to do. I always recommend to people starting Copics, try to get like blending pairs, so a light and a dark of a particular color. And if you can, find a third, like a low, medium, and a dark of the same color range. Okay, we're going to go to our darkest again, and I play around with starting with darks, starting with lights, and it depends on the image and the effect that I want. Just flicking our darker pink down, just putting some flicky marks, and these ones are kind of like folded, so you just kind of imagine what it would look like and just do your best. Okay, going on to our mid-tone again, RV04. There we go. And again, Google is your best friend for some stuff like this. You can Google and find out some of the fun colors if you want to make it somewhat realistic. And then, of course, you can be imaginative and do whatever you want. Okay. All right, and then we're going to add a little bit of our shadow with our V. B12. Anybody out there doing any scrapbooking, as it's National Scrapbooking Day was yesterday, but of course we make it a weekend event. There is lots of stuff on sale in the shop. Make sure you check it out because there's like thousands of items. Okay, a little bit of our violet. Let's go on to our centers. I'm not sure of the technical name for them, but let's work on that. Okay, we're going to do our light first. This is a Y23, and I'm going to go over the entire fuzzy part in the middle. And if you notice, there's some gaps, because there are gaps between those petals. They don't all overlap. So if you can maintain those, all the better. We're going to go over the other one as well. Whee! Okay. I am going to go darkest. Actually, no, we're going to go the other way. We're going to go lightest to darkest. Y17. This is one of my favorite kind of yellow oranges. And for this one, we want to leave a little bit of highlight. So I'm kind of doing like lines. Like it's almost like furry, which it kind of is. So I'm just making simple brush marks, leaving some of that lighter color showing through. Doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going to add other colors over top and make it blend in three-dimensional. Hi, Beth. We're just adding our hairy spots to our blooms here. Beth, did you celebrate National Scrapbooking Day? Okay, we're going on to our medium tone here. This is an E07. Yes, I'm going browns. Okay, so this one I want to leave a lot of the lighter kind of at the top of the bloom. We're going to go and add just a tiny bit of this ready kind of brown. And again, we're just going to add funky little strokes. And you can concentrate this down kind of at the base of our fuzzy little part to our bloom. We're gonna go up and finish our other little fellow up here. Like I said, I'm trying to leave kind of like the cap a little bit lighter, and I'm making those directional kind of fibers, following the highlighted fibers in the image. I'm also trying to do different directions because it just makes it look more natural, because not everything is pointing the same direction. Okay, now we're going to go our darkest. Like I said, today is like simple stamp, simple card. Okay, E18. This is our darkest. I am going to concentrate this kind of towards the bottom and the center of our image. If you make flicking marks over top, you're going to still have points of light, points of medium, points of dark throughout your image. There we go. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to maintain some of the light, but we're trying to darken up our image because these parts of the flowers are quite thick with texture and color. So you just kind of want to mimic that. Again, just random strokes, and if you want to go in and darken it a little bit more, you just put more strokes over top. Not quite dark enough, but you can also go in. Let's go back with our almost lightest. This is our Y17. We're just going to blend it just a bit, leaving that outer edge a little bit on the light side. So I'm just kind of scrubbing over top. What it does is it blends those colors and softens them a little bit because this is a lighter color. Okay, all we have left is Greenery YG67. Like I said, we're going fairly simple today. That's it. Okay, now let's put on our sentiment. So I want to show you, let's go back to our stamp set. So there's lots of little things on this stamp set. Love and the ampersand, prayers, and little word sending. I mean, this is teeny, like teeny, look, teeny. Okay, so let's start by putting our love and prayers on first. Now, because we've already done all our coloring and we're not going to go over this with an alcohol marker, I'm going to use my VersaFine Onyx. And I'm just going to bring in a scrap piece off to the corner here. Make sure that this is inked up and ready to go. Okay. And we're going to literally, I have both of my words, love and prayers, just those two words. I know, they're so cute. There we go. Love, prayers. And a kitty hair, apparently. Okay. Now we're going to do the word sending above it. And then we're going to put the ampersand kind of stuck in between the two of them. So this is our itty bitty, teeny tiny sending. And it's, I mean, like, it's tiny. Tiny. Look at that. Okay. Now let's change it up for our ampersand. And we're going to use the Be Mine. Make sure that your ampersand is in the right direction. I'm just going to test it on my scrap here. Make sure we're good. And then I'm going to go right in between. So, sending, love, and prayers. And that's all of our card today. Do you guys want me to do a daisy? You guys can let me know. I'm just going to clean my stamps off here. If you guys want to see a simple card using the Mini White Splendor Anemone, just let me know. Yes. Okay. Let me just kind of put everything off to the side here. Okay, I'm going to bring in a card base. Let's do that first. Okay. Let's fold this up. Okay. There we go. Okay. Let's bring in our mini Misty. Let's wash off that stamp set before we lose it on the desk. Okay. Because that's always a problem. I don't know about you guys. They always, hi Betty! They might disappear because they stick to things, right? They stick to the under things. Okay, let's see. This is an anemone. If I remember correctly, anemones kind of have like a purpley center and a light kind of purpley undertone. And again, we're just making really, really, really simple cards. If you guys are doing them in mass production, this is what I would do. I would stamp them all at once, or like fold all their card bases, then stamp them all, then put on the sentiment, color them up. Okay, maybe one more hit with the ink right in the center. There we go. Okay, let's clean it up. I'm going to put this on its backer. Okay, so that was Memento Tuxedo. All right, now we need, and I'll show you my tool here. This is my Copic hex chart made by Sandy Allnock. You can download this online through Sandy's website. It's a couple bucks, worth every penny. And an anemone is kind of like, trying to think, maybe in these tones here, the BV23, BV25. So let me grab those. BV23, 25. Nope. Okay, and then I need a softer blue violet just to spread it out. So a V20 is kind of in that tone. All right. Okay, so this is well worth it, especially if you're collecting them, then you know which ones you don't have. Okay, so we're going to start by putting down our V20, which is our lightest. Okay, again, simple, simple, simple coloring. We're going to go out from the middle, because that flicking allows for kind of a lighter change of color. I'm going right over those little stamen. I hope I got the terminology right. It's been a while since I talked flowers. Again, we're going to go right over, because you can always come back and add light to them. And I know the center is, if I remember correctly, is fairly dark, like very, very dark. And of course, if you want to darken this just a little bit, you go over it again. Whee! Coloring does not have to be hard. Okay. We're going to go, actually, let's do our darkest here. BV25, BV25. Okay, I'm not worrying about the stamen, okay? I'm going to go right from that center. You can draw your flicks out if you need to. And if you flick better in a certain direction, just rotate your image. You don't have to color things right side up. Never ever. Always make it easier on yourself. And turn your image. Again, I'm not worried about any of those pieces in the center. And I'm going to go right over that central baby, because we're going to go in and make things either darker or lighter by doing some tricks. Oops. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go in with our mid-tone. In that case, we're doing a V20. And what I'm going to do is go over top, even the dark stuff. What it does is it pushes the darker ink in and blends it. So if you look closely, so hopefully the light isn't too bad here. The parts that I've gone over with our mid-tone are actually a little bit lighter, because the mid-tone ink is pushing the darker ink into the fibers. So if you want to make it nice and stark, then you would do your last dark color last. In this case, this is a mid-tone, and it's going to act like a blender solution and push some of that dark ink back down. Now, if you find that it's pushing too much ink into the fibers, you can go over with your dark marker again and saturate it just a little bit more. But I like the effect of that. So there we go. Now, I'm going to go back with our dark marker, our BV25, and I'm going to go in and darken that center. We've got a titch of color coming out. There we go. Now, Let's see. I want it to be a little bit more pinky purple. So this is where you go in and you do what's called glazing. So you go over top of your already colored image. And I'm kind of thinking maybe this color, a V05. So let's pull a V05. Now I know this one is really pinky, so I'm just going to test it. Yeah, it's pretty much the color I want. So you can glaze over your image like such. And you just add a tiny bit of hue of the purple. And it just makes everything a little bit more vibrant. And you can add as much and as little of this ink as you want. And if you want to intensify it, you can just go over top of it a few times. But that just makes everything kind of more vibrant and pop. Now, there is a very, very dark center on an anemone. So I'm going to pop in one more shade of BV and do just the center. Just that little ball of fire. Now, let's take this and do those little itty bitty stamen dark. You could almost go with a black on this too, because it just makes it pop out from the flower because they're dark, right? They're not a light attribute of this flower. So I'm just trying to use the stamp as my guide. I'm not randomly putting dots. There is actual circles or ovals to indicate where these little fellas are. You just have to read it, basically. There we go. Very, very, very simple. Okay, let's go and look back at the stamp set. And I'm not going to worry about the leaf because then we have to mask, but let's use the just a note. And I'm going to pull in a simple block for this one. And let's go with a Catherine Pooler ink. Something in the shade of purple that kind of works. Kind of thinking Royal Treatment. Because it's kind of that shade. So I just have to find it here. There she is. Okay, Royal Treatment. Okay, again, I'm going to bring in that scrap. Because I've never inked up this stamp. So the other trick to do is to take a white eraser. You can always use the palm of your hand or your finger. Just run it over the top. And that just takes off any of the production goo that they use to get stuff out. And just make sure that you wipe it clean. No more white eraser fuzzies. And then try it on your scrap. Inking it up also preps it so that it's ready to go. And let's just kind of put it over here. Like I said, we're making really, really simple cards with simple stamp sets. So there we go. Very, very simple. Because sometimes you don't have a lot of time to do stuff. So, yeah. So there are our 2 cards today. Very, very simple, super duper cute stamp sets, and super fast. And you don't even have to go as many layers of coloring as I've done today either. They can be even simpler than that. So thanks for joining me today, guys. And I will see you again on Tuesday if you'll join me. And have a great Sunday. Bye, guys.